right, folks, it's time to do that thing you like. All of you hockey fans and fans of other sports, we're going to put this show on ice. Jeff Ulrich of DraftKings Network, Pete Jensen of NHL.com here for some opening face-off. Damn good to have you guys here on a beautiful Saturday morning. So at this time next week, Jeff, the NHL trade deadline will be a thing of the past. So we're talking Friday, March 8th. Which teams should be the biggest buyer right now? You got one?
I mean, it's the Edmonton Oilers. It really is. I mean, I hate to keep bringing them up, and maybe it's a homer pick by me, but I mean, this team has shown that they can be dominant. They can be the most dominant team in the West. They can stand up to Colorado, and there's just really no reason for this team not to be going all in right now. That includes getting a goalie. That probably includes getting another forward to just give them a little bit more scoring depth so they can hold up better to teams like Colorado. I think that the Oilers' biggest need, though, is in net. They have to have a secondary option. They can't go through what they did with Stuart Skinner, who's been very, very good in obviously like the second and third quarters of the season, but still has these moments where, lets in a couple bad goals, goes through bad stretches. I think the Oilers need to be huge buyers. I also think that like the Boston Bruins are in a little bit of trouble right now. They don't have much cap room to work with. And I think the Carolina Hurricanes are in a similar spot to the Oilers. They need to go all in as well. Maybe not in net, but they need some scoring up front. I think the Carolina Hurricanes, they got to make a splash with some kind of forward. This team is just there all the time. And, they need one more body up front.
Yeah, Jeff, Oilers too. Your Oilers, our Oilers, $2.4 million in deadline cap space too. So they have the assets and the financial flexibility to do something. Pete, who do you think needs to go out there and bolster that roster?
I think New Jersey. I think someone out there should make a deal with the Devils here. It's going to be fun to watch New Jersey after the trade deadline if they either address their defense, which is thin right now. Rookies Luke Hughes and Simone Nemec are filling in admirably, but it's not enough right now with Dougie Hamilton not playing since like November or something like that. And then the goaltending has been really shaky. They've gotten a couple of decent stretches from some young kids like Nico Dawes, but again, it's not good enough. You either have to jump in to the pool and get in on the mix with a guy like Jacob Markstrom. I know they're trying to make that deal happen based on reports, and I also think even a guy like Elvis Merzlikins would be an upgrade over what they have. They have to dangle Alexander Holtz, one of their top prospects. The forward group is deep, and if New Jersey makes a deal and sneaks into the playoffs, they could be dangerous. Nobody would want to play that team.
Jeff, you just mentioned how the Bruins could be in a little bit of trouble here. Don't be fooled by their league best 84 points, people, because third period collapses have continued to haunt this team, Jeff. They tried giving another one away late Thursday night against Vegas, 5-11 record in overtime. They've lost that solo lead in the Atlantic. How fatal could these late game struggles become for them playoff time and maybe also tonight against the Islanders here?
Yeah, I mean, the Bruins, you hit it on the head. Like the Bruins point total, I think just is like hiding a lot of problems with this team. And it's really just one problem. They don't have Patrice Bergeron, at least in my opinion. I mean, this is just a team when Bergeron was on it, when Bergeron was on the ice late in the games, these things just didn't happen. The Bruins didn't give away, last year, any games like this. Their goaltenders also ran a little bit hotter, so perhaps a little bit of regression there. Obviously, Linus Ullmark, not really in the Vezina Trophy consideration this year. I think that's a bit of a problem, but I really do think, as I mentioned at the trade deadline in our last section, I think this is a team that needs to you can't go and replace Patrice Bergeron, but you can certainly add to that depth a little bit. Maybe ask Pavel Zacha to do a little bit less. I think that the Bruins are a team that need to be doing something. They don't have much space to do it, but they're just not a team I have much confidence in going into the playoffs. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they're going to be under the radar this year, but I think that this is a problem that's going to unfortunately hurt them when they get to the postseason as well.
Yeah, some rumors of Ullmark being on the trade block too. Pete, how much confidence do you have in the Bruins right now?
It's a concern, no doubt. But I like the fact that this team is going into the playoffs loose, less expectations, chance to avenge what happened last year in the first round against Florida. And everybody's talking about Florida over them and Carolina and even the Rangers, who have won, 11 of 12. So a little bit under the radar, and they still are dangerous, I think, with that goalie tandem. To me, I'll focus on the positives here. Charlie Coyle this year, third on the Bruins in goals, third in points. Nobody really saw that type of elevated production coming. So major props to him. And then even a guy like Morgan Geekie, 30 points this season and had a hat trick yesterday to help them win that game and also reached a career high in points last year. So they're getting that by committee approach where everybody's stepping up to try to keep this ship sailing in the right direction.
Yeah, Pete, I'm glad you brought up Florida because Florida and Detroit tonight should be a good one here, dude. Detroit just had its 6-game win streak snapped by the Islanders. Facing the Panthers smoking hot. They're 9-2-0 in their last 11 games here. How intriguing of a matchup is this, Pete? Because we're talking about a possible first-round matchup preview right now.
Right. And Detroit, I mean, let's be honest, they're looking like a playoff team this season. I know they lost to the game against the Islanders, but they've been the most consistent team of that pack that includes Tampa and New Jersey and Philly and Washington, all those types of teams, the Islanders, I'm talking over the past month or so. And it's coinciding with them being healthy, right? Patrick Kane better than a point per game this season. I think Florida's the more stout overall team without question. But we saw it happen on the flip side last year, like 1 or 2 injuries, something breaking in the other direction. And you're facing a team that has the potential to have a hot power play with Detroit, having Kane and DeBrincat and Larkin and these guys. And also Detroit's defense is deep this year. Who would have thought that Jake Wallman and Shane Gostisbehere would have more goals than Moritz Seider, who we all loved going into this season. So I just think Detroit has sneaky depth, and they will be dangerous in any 7-game series, even against the mighty Panthers.
Yeah, what kind of chance you want to give Detroit at home tonight against the Panthers here, Jeff? Because this certainly feels like a return to the playoffs here for the Red Wings. Haven't been there since 2016.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Pete said. Like, if I was the Panthers, I would not want to be seeing the Red Wings in the first round. That's a team where if their power play gets hot, Larkin gets hot, Kane gets hot, they could just steal games. For tonight, though, for Saturday night, I mean, I'm just going to roll with the Panthers here. The Panthers are still the better team here, like by all metrics. 5-on-5, they are just extremely dominant. I also think the Red Wings, that hot stretch was great, but this is a team where if the power play isn't going, you can get over on them. I think there's going to be quite a few goals here. I mean, I think that the Red Wings will probably still get a couple because, they'll get some power play time. But, this is a chance for the Panthers to potentially just, it's like big brother versus little brother here. It's like, okay, we're looking up from you. You can just stay down there and remember this come the playoffs. I think the Panthers probably put a hurt on them. They've kind of been sleepwalking, but I think this matchup with the Red Wings, which, like you said, could be a playoff matchup, probably wakes them up a little bit. I wouldn't be shocked to put up 5 or 6 goals.
Rangers and Maple Leafs, though, tonight feels like big brother versus big brother, man. These are two teams, Jeff, that just had win streaks of at least 7 games snapped this previous week. They both bounce back after their streaks are snapped, and they win a game. How can Toronto score the upset tonight?
This is a really interesting matchup. I mean, the Rangers obviously have the special teams advantage. It's really simple for the Maple Leafs. They have to stay out of the penalty box. They don't have a great penalty kill. The Rangers have one of the best power plays in the business, and then they have Shesterkin and net, also a small edge. But the Leafs should be able to carry this 5-on-5, and I think that being at home gives them a slight advantage. I'd be looking for a lower scoring game here. I'm not going to lie. Like I know there's a lot of star power. The Leafs have been obviously scoring a lot, Austin Matthews, but I think what the Leafs want to do is just keep this 5-on-5, get a lead, and just sit on the Rangers. I think they can do it, but they have to stay out of the penalty box. They start taking penalties, they get undisciplined, the Rangers get a lead. This probably turns into a little bit higher scoring game, and it probably favors the Rangers.
Maple Leafs a slight favorite at home, though, Pete.
And I think something to do with that is the fact that Joseph Woll, the rookie goalie, came back last game and had a nice showing with 30 saves on 32 shots faced. He hasn't played in a while since like December. So he actually quietly has the best save percentage among all rookie goalies. So that includes Ersson of the Flyers and Kochetkov of the Hurricanes. So it's a nice rookie goalie class, and Joseph Woll.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
If you want to stay on top of your health, one simple thing to do
is take the pledge to go and get screened for the cancers that might affect you.
So stand up, cancer, and take the pledge at GetScreenedNow.org.
It only takes a minute to take care of yourself, and nothing rhymes with poor.
Talk to your doctor about your health and screenings that are right for you.
This is Matt Lipsack, the voice of the Youngstown Phantoms, and your home for Phantoms hockey is Western Reserve Radio.
Hey listeners, let me tell you about my friends over at Brookside Equipment. Brookside is the premier dealership for all John Deere equipment in Houston. Whether you're a homeowner, rancher, contractor, or institution, the Brookside team is there to provide you with the equipment solution and full service support you deserve. No matter your situation, Brookside has the deals you need. New or pre-owned equipment, parts, service, flexible payment plans, they have it all. Go see them at one of their 9 locations and visit their website at brooksideusa.com. Once again, that's Brookside Equipment.
At Progressive, we love sports and saving you money, so we bundled them together.
The final horse now in the gate, and they're off. They're starting off with a double toe loop jump, leaving a difficult 7-10 split. Edge is moving on the inside rail. Only 9 pins separate them now as they head to the final quarter mile. They're neck and neck. It's down to the last frame. Here comes the actual jump. They bundle their home and auto insurance with Progressive. Win, strike, savings, gold.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
If you didn't catch Follow the Money, here's what you missed.
The odds on Russell Wilson, this is at DraftKings, by the way, where he's going to take his next snap. Broncos are 7-1. The Steelers have now been bumped up to minus 225.
Yep.
So, we said this before. I like the idea of Russ going to Pittsburgh. I like the idea of him going to the Raiders. The Falcons wouldn't be bad on top of that. But also, if the Vikings lose Cousins, do they completely punt on quarterback?
Yes, they will.
They will.
Yes.
Then just rebuild, try to get somebody in the draft because Russ is 10-1 to go to the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think that team would it make sense for them to say, bye-bye, Kirk, we're going to sign Russell Wilson?
You also could go next year. Whether you want to attack it in free agency or it's not a great class, but you also could take a quarterback in next year's draft if you want to look at it that way.
Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard. Weekdays at 7 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific on VSiN, the sports betting network.
If you think about betting football all year round, the Lombardi Line on VSiN is the perfect show for you. 7 days a week, you can watch and listen to the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi. He gives his honest opinions on personnel signings, draft decisions, and every offseason move to help you as a bettor. Catch the show weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern and on weekends at 10 a.m. Eastern. The Lombardi Line, 7 days a week, right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Golf's most prestigious tournament is just a few weeks away. I'm Dave Ross here at VSiN, the sports betting network. Yes, get those azaleas ready. Take that drive up Magnolia Lane. The Masters is almost upon us in early April. Scottie Scheffler, the world's best player in the world, well, if you don't count the putting, he is 8-1 to win this award again. He's already got one green jacket. Rory McIlroy has never won a green jacket, plus 850 to complete that career Grand Slam. John Rahm, the reigning defending, now at Live Golf, he is plus 850 to repeat as the Masters champion. Victor Hovland, so hot at the end of last year, 12-1 to get it done at Augusta. And then remember, Brooks Koepka came oh so close a year ago. Yes, that Live golfer is also 16-1 to win the award and get his first green jacket.
For the latest odds, injury reports, and betting splits, go to VSiN.com.
New customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code VSiN. Place $5 on any pregame moneyline bet and get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. 21 and over in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY 467.
Youngstown, Warren, and Salem's local and national sports talk can be found on TuneIn and the Live 365 app at Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Mahoning Valley's leader for golf, Milk Creek Golf Course, is now booking tee times for 2024. We offer stay and play opportunities available with 9 area hotel partners. For more information, visit our website at millcreekmetroparks.org. Also, look for new, exciting opportunities coming soon, including an indoor player development center with Trackman, an indoor Callaway Club Fitting Center, and an Odyssey Fitting Studio in 2024. Follow us on Facebook at Milk Creek Golf Course or call 330-740-7112.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's time to kick back and listen to the Sports Page with your host, Pat Lucia, right here on Western Reserve Radio. You can call the show at 330-707-4202 and tell everyone what's on your mind in the wonderful world of sports. Now, here's your host, Pat Lucia.
Saturday morning Sports Page, Pat Lucia. 330-707-4202. Get in and talk sports. We do it every Saturday morning here. And here is Western Reserve Radio from 9 to 11. And we got a lot to talk about in the wonderful world of sports. I know it's kind of a down cycle on the old proverbial sports talk circuit as far as really what is happening in the wonderful world of sports. But ultimately, we figure out ways in what we can talk about. A lot, though, to get to. The draft is really going to be the focus here for the next couple months. This may be one of the most interesting NFL drafts in many, many, many years. The quarterbacks that are coming out are really going to make an impact on the NFL this year. Teams are just going out of their minds. We're going to see, I think, some interesting situations where teams will be moving up or trying to move up. The Chicago has the number 1 pick via Carolina, and we're going to talk a lot into that today. The field situation. It seems, at least if you talk to various people out there and listen to enough talk radio, it looks like Justin Fields will be traded, will be moved after the combine and is over. And I believe after this week is going to end the combine, which means you think Justin Fields should be moved somewhere in the next week or two before the free agents get into town or they become quarterback. NFL free agency starts. They want to move him before that. Because obviously he's going to have a higher price. Once the NFL free agency hits the market, then there'll be those quarterbacks out there. Teams are going to start filling out roster spots, going to lessen the amount of teams that will be interested in Justin Fields. So Chicago obviously is looking to move him a lot sooner than later. They will probably get the right amount they want for him as far as draft choices, maybe a player. Justin Fields, does he get a first-round pick, a second-round pick? We're going to have to wait and see what teams out there. There's a rumor out there already talking that Kirk Cousins could ultimately be in Atlanta now. That That was one spot where everybody thought Justin Fields was going to end up, but now that's obviously going to be up for discussion. The Raiders are in a discussion for quarterback. We know Atlanta is, because Atlanta has flat out come out and told us that they need a quarterback, that the quarterbacks they have on the roster, Ritter and Taylor Heineke, are not the quarterbacks going in. They're not going to have those two quarterbacks, or one will be a backup, but they are looking for a starting NFL quarterback. So they're looking at the free agency. Also, Justin Fields happens to be from the Atlanta area. Well, talk about Justin Fields coming back, since it seems like Chicago will trade him and take Caleb Williams. Just remember, it's a new GM in Chicago. This GM in Chicago did not draft Justin Fields, so he really has no allegiance to Justin Fields. And talk is, if he does not draft Caleb Williams and Caleb Williams ends up the next Patrick Mahomes, which there are some analysts out there that believe he has the potential to be that type of player, then obviously Chicago will be ever kicking themselves. They're still kicking themselves for drafting Mitch Trubisky and not Patrick Mahomes way back when. So it is the Chicago Bears. And if you start looking at the quarterbacks in the Chicago Bear history, the last great quarterback they had was a player named Sid Luckman. And Sid Luckman played in the 40s. So you're looking at almost 80 years, or somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 years since Chicago had what you would consider a great quarterback. Jim McMahon, we talked last week, is a good quarterback. He wasn't a great quarterback. He good, solid quarterback, has a Super Bowl ring. The 85 Bears, the defense. But I'll give McMahon was a good quarterback, but he wasn't a great quarterback. Sid Luckman was their last great quarterback. Rex Grossman got him to a Super Bowl. They lost to the Colts. That tells you a lot. Lovie Smith was the head coach of that team. I said Lovie Smith should have been given the coach of the year 5 times over for getting that team and a quarterback, Rex Grossman, to a Super Bowl. So it is the Chicago Bears. I know they had Bobby Douglas as a quarterback somewhere in the early 70s, who could run but couldn't pass. There was Bob Avellini of a few. Bill Wade goes back into the 60s. You could go back to the quarterbacks in the Chicago and you wouldn't know who was who. But the bottom line is, it is the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams, has the potential to be a great quarterback. At least that's what experts do believe. However, there are some critics out there that find holes in his game and don't believe that maybe Caleb is going to be as great as what everybody is projecting him to be. Have to wait and see how this goes. Again, the other side of this coin that could be scary, if people keep saying, well, if you don't make the trade and Caleb Williams ends up being great, and Justin Fields and the team continues to struggle, the GM will lose his job. And that's true. However, there's the other side of the coin where you can't rule this out. You trade a Justin Fields, say, to Atlanta. He's got a lot of weapons around him. And bottom line is, he has improved every year since he's been with the Bears. Remember, the Bears were not a good team when he was drafted. The point on it is, if Justin Fields really plays good, say like he gets Atlanta into the playoffs, Caleb Williams comes to Chicago. It's a cold weather city. It's outdoors. He has, problems adjusting. He gets hurt. He moves around a lot. He didn't play very good against Notre Dame. I know that was just one game, but the point is, maybe Caleb Williams isn't the great quarterback everybody has him to be. Justin Fields ends up really developing into a really good NFL quarterback. Then the Chicago Bears are going to be sitting there kicking themselves, saying, man, maybe we should have kept Justin Fields and not have Caleb Williams. It could happen. We don't know. I guess that's the great part about Sports Talk Radio. We could speculate and maybe say, well, this could happen. Maybe Caleb Williams won't be the great quarterback. Justin Fields gets to the right system and the right quarterback, right coordinator. Remember, he's had 3 different coordinators in 3 years since Chicago. So you got to sit down and look at the whole picture. Saying all that, I think at the end of the day, Chicago will definitely trade Justin Fields. I just don't see them keeping Justin Fields. Although they say there's a fans are 50-50 split. I'm a little surprised. A lot of fans really like Justin Fields and they want to keep him. But then there's the others, 50% of the fans that want a new quarterback and they want Caleb Williams. So this is going to be kind of a hot ticket item as we navigate our way toward the draft, which is right now probably about 8 weeks away at this point, Dave Clark. So that's out there. The other story, and we'll get to a few other ones, but the other story, we talked a lot about this last week. It looks like the NCAA has suspended their NIL investigations since they, what happened was they were investigating schools for NIL violations. And since the judge ruled, can't do it, the NCAA now has paused all the investigations into NIL violations following the lawsuit and the injunction. So the NCAA has to take a step back, and they can't continue their investigations until the court gives the final ruling on NIL and what's allowed. And I really thought about this, and the problem you have, Dave Clark, with the NIL is right now, the colleges do not want to pay the players. They don't want to, pay players money. In other words, $100,000 for the lineman. They don't want anything to do that. Okay. However, the way they're getting, the players are getting around, the way they've got around this is through the NIL. The NCAA thinks that they can limit the NIL. And I just basically see that's so flawed. How do you limit? You cannot limit NIL. Now, you can limit, if you're going to pay the players, you can limit what you can pay them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what happens, baseball, football, basketball. Players are limited to how much they can make. They make a lot of money, but there's a limit there.
Yeah.
And they can put a limit on. NBA has a labor agreement with the players. Football, baseball, they limit. Now, baseball doesn't have a salary cap, so it's they just
astronomical.
They just pay whatever they want to pay.
Yeah.
They have
you own a lot of stuff, then you're in great shape. If you're an owner and you own a lot of things besides that team, radio stations, whatever, and money coming in, boy, you can just pay whatever you want.
Baseball's all out. Yankees are, the top one on the list. The Dodgers.
Yep.
They got the name. They have, cable channel. They have the Yankees have the Yes station. Is worth millions, probably billion. I mean, it's just they've got more money that's printed. They can do what they want. The problem you ultimately have, you go back, when you look at that, none of those teams limit what a player can make off his name, image, and likeness. See, this is the problem that the NCAA doesn't get. You cannot limit what a player makes off his name, image, and likeness. They keep saying, well, we're going to go to the federal government. We're going to go to Congress. I got news. They're not doing anything with it because whatever they do they're going to lose in court. Well, then here's the question. If Congress rules you can limit NIL, okay, then what's to say the Lakers and these other teams can't limit their athletes for their NIL? Like, I mean, you can't limit on NIL because where do you start and stop? You can't say, well, we're only going to limit NIL for players under the age of 21. That's discriminatory. You can't do that. I mean, you can't sit there and put an age limit on what a player can make. I mean, if they're over the age of 18, but even kids under, 16, 15, they can make, look at singers, look at, rock stars, teen rock stars. They've made all kinds of money and they have NIL deals and they make it off. But I mean, the point is, because it's America, you can't limit NIL to anybody. And then if you do, where do you start and stop? You're going to limit LeBron James NIL? Yeah, right. Sure you are.
It's too late now. Well, it's too late for college because if they should have got out in front of it at the beginning, then they could have allowed you to have NIL, but had a limit to quarterbacks this, whatever they wanted to do.
Right.
They could have had it like that. That way the NIL would have been available, but whoever is offering the deals, they only allowed to offer up this amount. Now, will somebody cheat somewhere? Probably so. But regardless, at least they would have had some kind of scale. It's too late now. It's all out there. It's all over the board. How are you going to do that now?
See, you can't do it. I would even tell you this.
And even the way I said it, after a while, it would have been a problem too. But at least they needed to be out in front of this thing so it wouldn't get so out of control quickly.
If they got out in front of it and put something together, they probably could have got by for a while.
Yeah. Oh, it would change after a while. For sure.
But legally, you cannot limit NIL. This is the part that people, I don't know if they quite grasp. I hear, it was 6 months ago, they had the new guy, I don't remember his name.
Well, they already said you can't.
NCAA.
It's by law, did they say it already that you can't really limit it?
I don't know if they're going to. I mean, if they haven't, they're going to rule. If the NCAA pushes that envelope,
I think they are.
They're going to get slam dunked because they already got beat by the Supreme Court 9-0.
Yeah.
If they continue to try to limit this, first of all, they're looking for the government and Congress and the Senate to bail them out. And I got bad news for them. That's not going to happen. Because, first of all, you're going to have them put, first of all, I just don't think they're going to agree. And I think most of they don't want to get involved in that. Like, if you're a congressman, why do you even want to get involved with something like that? Right. And when you look at it, you're going to look at it from a legal perspective. You're going to say, you can't limit NIL.
Right.
Because then where would you start and stop with NIL? That's what I mean, because you have NIL. Everybody has NIL. Golfers have it. A lot of golfers make a lot of money on NIL because that's how they stay on the tour, is because they use like a merchandise. They give, they merchandise their clothes, their hats, and they make money off merchant products. They sign up with companies and they make money off golf merchandising, golf clubs, whatever. But the point is they make money off their names. That's how they play. A lot of them survive on the tour that way to some extent. But the point is, you can't limit them. But then if you start to say, well, we're going to limit that, who do you limit? And so then where do you start and stop it?
Well, that's the problem, because it's too far out there now.
Yeah. How do you limit one group of players like basketball or football, college? But you're going to say, I'm going to limit what you can make until you get out of college. That's never going to legally stand up in court. Just because I go to college, I'm penalized on how much I could make off my name, image, and likeness. That's basically what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. And they're not going to be able
legally, you can't do this.
Well, I want them to go ahead and try it anyway. Because if I can see them get slam dunked, then I'm real happy. Because I'm just sick of it.
Oh, me too. I think first of all, we've always agreed. We've never really disagreed on this topic at all. I think that I think the NCAA, for what they've done in the past, they borderline should be in jail for what they've done to certain athletes. I mean, I always talk about that book, The Indentured. Everybody should read it.
Yeah. And they still try to keep some of that stuff around if they can.
Do.
They try.
They're trying
they
to
try,
keep.
But they can't. But they
can't, but they're trying.
Oh, yeah. They throw little things in there.
Well, we talked a lot about the hamburgers and feeding the players. And
All
can't do, can't do super size and get a fries with your burgers or,
Yep.
That's a great, the whole thing with getting back to NIL, it's doomed in that the NCAA is doomed. Not the NIL is doomed, but the NCAA pay limiting the NIL is doomed legally. It's never going, no matter what they try to do with it.
Yep, I love it.
They're going to lose every time in court.
They need to.
Yeah, and they need
stand
to.
them. I just can't stand they exhaust me. If
Yeah.
just the things they do over and over and over, always trying to. I think about the receiver from North Carolina when he couldn't play early.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I mean, something just dumb. Absolutely dumb.
Was it a transfer issue?
Yeah, and everything was on time, everything, but he
Right.
sat out those games. Then they said, "Oh, we made a mistake. Well, he done
Yeah.
missed the games now. You did what you wanted to have done to this young man,
Right.
just because what? Why? See that it made me think of the same stuff going on from years ago.
Al Golden was the Miami, Florida coach. We talked about this before. They were doing that NCAA investigation on Miami, Florida. It went on and on and on. It went on for at least a year or two.
Yeah,
minimum.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah.
During the investigation, there were problems with the investigation. NCAA questions on what they were doing, how they were doing it. Bottom line is, then they were like, "Hey, wait a minute." They found out problems they had during the investigation that raised questions on how they were doing the investigation. They decide, okay, investigation over now. We didn't really find anything major here in Miami, Florida. We're not really going to do anything to them.
Yeah, it already did.
And they go to Al Golden. They go, "What do you think?" He goes, "I couldn't recruit players for 2 years. We're all waiting for the NCAA to drop the hammer. I couldn't really get good recruits to come here because they were figuring we were going to go on probation and not go to a bowl game or, who knows."
Right.
So I really couldn't recruit players because I had the NCAA investigation hanging over my head.
And it was terrible because Miami had been such a top team for so long. Then they had some issues that caused it. And you had Butch Davis come in there and start to revive the program. You seen it coming. And then Al Golden came, right?
No,
Al Golden was first, I think.
We'll look it up.
I can't remember how it was.
I think Al was later.
Yeah, I think he was after Butch.
Yeah, he was after Butch.
And then that's when they seen that, okay.
Coker was in there, and then I think
I think Coker and all them was before. Because Coker won a national championship. And that's the last of when they won was with him. And then you had the situations started happening. They was looking to investigate, and then they kept on investigating. Butch Davis was bringing that program back. Al Golden, I thought, would have a chance. And then they put this investigation further on. And that really would ruin Miami. They have never recovered since then. Never recovered.
Here's how it played out for those folks out there. Well, for the sake of the discussion, I'm not going to go through their whole history. But let's start. Lou Saban was 77-78. Schellenberger coached the team from 79 to 83. He was the one that beat Nebraska in the bowl game, the 84 Orange Bowl that cost Nebraska a national title. Then Jimmy Johnson came in. And, Johnson was coached there from 84 to 88. Then he went to Dallas. Erickson was in there from 89 to 94. Butch Davis was 95 to 2000. Coker, Randy Shannon. Then they had Jeff Stoutland, Al Golden. Golden was 2011 to 2015. Then Larry Scott, Mark Rick, Manny Diaz, and then Mario Cristobal. But Golden was the one that was trying to get the program back to, at least respectability and moving it. And he said basically for the 2 years that the NCAA was, quote, doing their investigation.
Yeah, it ruined them there.
That just, he said,
Yeah.
I was the damage was already done.
And it's probably been just this season. Well, last year wasn't too bad as far as their recruiting, but this season probably some of the best recruiting they've done in years. But it's put such a stain on it that it's hard to get them back to where they were at.
Yeah, they'll never. I shouldn't say they'll never. That's wrong. They continue to struggle with getting back to where they were when they had the great teams. You're talking Coker had the titles. Butch Davis set them up. Since Coker left, they've been kind of struggling to get back. Coker left in 2006. You're looking at now, you're going on 18 years. They've been just kind of trying to get back to where they were.
Yeah.
They've been respectable, but they're still struggling. Mario Cristobal looks like, what did he go, 6-10 this year? And they've just been kind of struggling to get back to where they were. So getting back to where we were, that's where the NCAA is laying out. They have suspended the NIL investigations, so that's put on hold. And I think ultimately they're going to lose that in court. So ultimately there'll be no NIL investigations. Now what the NCAA, my guess would be, is they're going to put all their energies into trying to limit it, because they're not going to get anywhere with limit. They're not going to be able to do it in the court, because teams are just going to take them to court and they're going to lose. They're going to go to Congress, plead their case to the Congress and the Senate, and try to get the government to bail them out here. Because they've had no other. They can't go to the court of law, because the courts just keep slam dunking them down.
Yeah.
And they just don't, and they're going to lose, because the court's going to look at them and just said, hey, we've heard this enough. Look at your history. You lose every time you go into court, because you can't limit what players can make on their own.
Yeah.
You can limit, if you're going to pay them, then you can limit them. Like you said, we went back NBA, NFL, they have salary caps, but they don't limit, and they know they can't limit any lineman or quarterback going out on their own and signing whatever multi-million-dollar deal that they can make off their name, image, and likeness. And so you can't limit a professional, and they're not amateurs. I mean, the college football players, they keep hanging on to amateur status. There is no amateur status. They're only amateur status because it makes the colleges more money.
Yeah.
Because you can't give it to the players. So now what they're doing is they're trying. Now what blows me away here, they should just accept that the NIL is the NIL. Let the players and the recruits and anyone else out there get what they can get off NIL.
Yeah, and just keep playing the game.
And just keep playing the game. Yeah. And you got your bill. You're making over, your TV deal is well over $1 billion a year for your college football playoff.
These players, they'll be able to get out NIL. Now, some might not get as big, but regardless, whatever they get, they're getting something, and they'll go and play. And I think that they'll, like, the plus side of it, you see guys stay longer in college, a little bit longer, because, hey, I'm making pretty good. I'll just stay here. If they're not in a hurry to get to the NFL game, they'll just stay right there. Now we start seeing some 4-year players and stuff like that again. So
somebody called in and said Caleb Williams should stay another year at USC and get all the NIL money and go to a better team than the Bears.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen.
No, could have done it. He could.
We'll come back. That's the first quarter is already in the books. Fast first quarter. We'll get to a lot more Saturday morning sports page.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Meet Josh.
Hi, everybody.
Josh is a high school basketball player, solid shooter, great teammate.
Hey, don't forget my tenacious D.
And he's my son.
Oh.
So, what does Josh do to be the best basketball player he can be?
I play tennis.
Studies show that student athletes here in Ohio who play more than one high school sport are more likely to excel. Tennis does more than improve Josh's conditioning. It gives him a fresh competitive outlet, reduces the risk of injury by cross-training, and introduces him to different coaching techniques and new friends.
Don't get me wrong, hoops are my first love. Tennis just gives me a little break.
So when the new season begins, Josh isn't burned out on basketball. He's eager to play, and you can see the difference in his game.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. 330-707-4202. Get in and talk sports. We do it every Saturday morning here on Western Reserve Radio. Dave Clark, talking a little bit about Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and one theory or one potential out there would be, I think the Bears will trade Justin Fields. I've heard them keeping Fields and drafting the quarterback. Mm-hmm. Have Fields play a year, see how he does, and then trade him. Now, the advantage of trading Fields is, and bringing in the quarterback, you reset the contract.
Yeah.
So that's an advantage of trading Fields, because ultimately Fields they could pick up. He'll be going into his fourth year. He's got a fifth-year option to pick up. Mm-hmm. And then you've got to decide after 5 years, what do you do? Yeah. You pay him what is the 6-year, $180 million variety contract, or by then it'll be $200 million.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to make that proverbial decision if they keep him versus trading Fields. You reset your contract, get the rookie contract. Now, one theory out there with the Bears could do is trade with Washington and get the 2 pick. And then they could take Jaden Daniels. Now, there's experts out there looking at these players. And what's really hard with the NFL quarterbacks, we know this for a fact, nobody knows how good they're going to be. Nobody knows. No. We can think they're going to be good, but nobody knows that. So they think that if you take a Jaden Daniels, there's not a radical difference between Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. Caleb might be a little bit better, but it's not a significant amount, and that's up for discussion. But they could get a lot of draft capital and still draft the quarterback, Jaden Daniels, and still trade Justin Fields and get more draft capital. So they could get a lot of more draft capital by just trading down to probably number 2. And they would take Daniels instead of Caleb Williams. And people say, well, when you look at these quarterbacks and their numbers and everything else, and they're young, we don't know the upside on any of them, but they might be saying, yeah, but we don't think there's a big difference. We'll take Jaden Daniels and we'll get a lot more draft capital, and then we'll have our quarterback. Or there was one theory out there that they could actually draft Jaden Daniels, keep Justin Fields, and let Jaden Daniels learn under Justin Fields for a year and see how that goes. Then ultimately they would trade Fields after the year. Fields, though, could play real good, and then ultimately his draft stock would be through the roof. They might be forced with a real tough decision. If Fields takes off, it starts to get better than everyone went. Then what do we do?
Yeah,
Then we
well,
got
one of them shows not show the same thing I was talking about. The guy said that the GM, if he was still like he was with the Steelers, he was the GM, with a player personnel director. He said all they would do if he played great, you got a rookie that got the potential to be great. You have him sit again and you franchise tag.
Yeah, you could.
One more
Fields.
year. He said you could franchise him. Now your guy is ready. He's definitely ready. It's in the second year. He's ready. Now you can get it and you get all kinds of stuff for him because it's a lot of stuff you could do.
What you could do with Fields is this. Good point. Is you could go, he's got a fourth year. You pick up the fifth year option, then you can tag him. So you can get him for 6 years. You can get Justin Fields for 6 years because you could pick up the fifth year option and then keep him another year by tagging him.
Yeah, that's what they said. If
So
you see him play great, that's all you have to do.
Right. All you do is you could go ahead and say, okay, he's going to the fourth year. We pick up the fifth year. Then if he really plays great, we'll tag him another year. And then you got a quarter. And then if he's, continues to play great, then you can look at trading him. And now you've got a guy who's been a year or two behind Fields. And then you bring him in, kind of Jordan Love in Green Bay.
Yeah.
And looks like that's worked out pretty good.
I mean, you could do that.
You could do that.
Now, on the other hand, with the situation, it's a hard situation for them, and I feel bad for the head coach and everything because they're in a bad position in a way. They can go and say, "Hey, let's try that." What you just said. If they don't get to the playoffs, even if Justin Fields plays great, they're going to get rid of them coaches anyway. So, I mean, they're just in a bad situation in a way because now, okay, let's get rid of Fields. We get the rookie. We put him in right off the top. And then he has some issues, you're getting fired. So it's a tough position. And the thing about for the Bears and that head coach, he really had them going towards the end of the season. Second half of the season, the Bears played well. They wasn't really bad early, but they really was much better at the end.
They caught Fields played better. The team played better. See, Justin Fields is 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years, which is hard for a rookie. But more the wide receiver, you could see, at least my eyes, that Fields and he got more comfortable, like kind of with one another and knowing the patterns and knowing. So the thing on it is this, and this is what makes this tough, is because if you're starting to see a progression, and there's a lot of people out there that think, if you would trade Justin Fields to Atlanta's got a lot of weapons. They just lack the quarterback. If Fields would go to Atlanta with those weapons, the wide receivers, you got a team in a weak division. They could be a playoff team easily.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they get into the playoffs and they start to play well together, they win a playoff game. This is the thing that I kept saying. If he goes to Atlanta, and how about the team, that's the kind of the missing piece of their puzzle was a quarterback. Fields is developing. He's indoors on AstroTurf.
Yeah.
And the point is, if that team takes off, they get it. How about if they get into the conference finals? Because they have a good team on paper. They just lack the quarterback. But with Raheem Morris, the new coach, D'Amico Ryans was the new coach with Houston, only Raheem Morris has got some experience under his belt as a head coach. But how about if that team takes off and then you're the Chicago Bears? You're looking at the guy you just traded, and you look over and he's in the conference finals on the other side of the coin. Now you're thinking, maybe that wasn't such a good idea, but this is the other side of that coin.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not saying there's right. I'm just saying that
his statistics and everything, like they said, improved. One of the things he did better is he started using Cole Kmet a lot. So that helped. But the things they need change from him is holding the ball too long and slow on his decision.
He's got it right.
And that's the main thing that's holding him back. He gets that together, he'll be okay. And you know it. That's what I looked at when I told you was 1 every 7 dropbacks he gets sacked.
Right.
And you get the backup that came in there, and he get 1 every 31 dropbacks. That's major for any football team. That means he's not getting sacked maybe every other game, where Fields is getting sacked 2, 3, maybe even 4 times in one game, and that comes from holding the ball, or he pulls it down and and he's got to just know to live another day. He's got
the backup guy knew. Forget his name, but
Badgett.
Yeah,
but he knew good.
But he
my
knew
progressions. They not there. Get rid of the football and throw it away.
He was where,
and that's what
Fields is trying to make the play, and he can't. He's got to get off that.
Yeah, he's got to, because that's what Lamar used to do.
Yeah, Lamar used to do the same thing. Now
he just progressed so quickly that he wouldn't learn. Get rid of the football. Even slide. He knew all that now. He got it really all down now. But before that first year, or two, he was like that.
He was running right.
Yeah. So it's just taking Fields a lot longer to get a grasp of. But if he does those things, and he probably have in his mind, I can make a big play, and Lamar said that's what he used to think in his first and half of his second year, and then you find out this is the NFL. These guys can get to you, and then he started doing some of the basic tangibles that he needed to do, and he's became a much better quarterback now. And I think if Fields gets those down, if he can get that down, I think he'll be okay. But it's on him. It's on him to get those things. It's not the coordinators, because that has nothing to do with that's all instinct and your thinking ability. That's on him. So he's got to get that. And I think he can do it. It's not like he's not a guy that doesn't listen or he'll get it. He just it's going to take. This is the year he's got to get it though. Wherever he goes, whether they keep him or he's traded. If he's traded somewhere, they're going to look for him to be the starter. So he's got to get it down.
Yeah, like if he goes to Atlanta, you have the wideouts, at least from the roster, that was Drake London, Scotty Miller, Van Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
The tight end is Kyle Pitts and Keith Smith, and and John Fitzpatrick. But a lot of the experts said that the problem is you have maybe talent-wise, Kyle Pitts, unbelievable talent. You're just not getting him the ball.
Yeah,
you have a guy like a Kyle Pitts, and you take a Justin Fields.
Yeah. Well, I think what's going to help too is Arthur Smith because Arthur Smith did not use Kyle Pitts. He didn't set up things to use to his advantage. So you got to remember some of that. Well, it was Arthur Smith. I don't know what was going on with him, because he usually is a pretty good guy. He was at Tennessee, but I don't know what he did there, because you had Bijan Robinson.
Right.
What are you doing? Not using that. That's an awesome talent. He can catch the football. He can run the football. Like they said, and this it's not like I'm not gonna say modern day football, but he's like a Marshall Faulk. That's what they said. That's what he could be like if he's used, but they don't use him.
You see, you have Bijan Robinson and Kyle and Pitts.
And you got Drake London.
Big
receiver, catch stuff in traffic.
I mean,
you got the guys.
You got weapons.
Oh, you got weapons. Van Jefferson
Jefferson.
He was with the Rams, and then he's been taught by an NFL player. His dad was a very good receiver, Sean Jefferson, for years in the NFL. So he knows what to do as far as playing the NFL wide receiver position. I don't know with Arthur Smith. He better do better at Pittsburgh. I think he will. It's something about when you get to Pittsburgh and that organization, you either do or you're out.
You have the weapons on offense with Atlanta.
Yeah.
where if you really get a quarterback in there, a good quarterback, not a great, you can get a good one.
Mm-hmm.
You had really a potential there to have really a great offensive team. And if he gets, that's the point is you've got to be kind of careful because I know everybody's getting trades fields. That seems to be the talk. They're going to trade him. Atlanta keeps coming up. Now Kirk Cousins' name has been in with Atlanta. Yeah. But I was saying with those weapons, if you get a quarterback like a Fields and he can figure it out get on line with his wide receivers and you run the ball, you can get a running game going, take pressure off him. That could be really a dangerous team. And the point is, what I always say with the Chicago Bears, it's a cold weather, playing, crappy weather outdoors. Caleb Williams is kind of California, more of a warm weather. But if he struggles there, which might happen, or he gets hurt, which could happen, because you don't ever know with a rookie quarterback, then you're Chicago. And if you look over the other side of the other conference and seeing the guy you traded is leading the Atlanta Falcons to a great season, and say like you got your quarterback who's just kind of struggling and going through rookie growing pains, sort of to speak, then you're like, well, wait a minute here. Maybe this wasn't a good move.
Yeah.
And that leads me to this potential is, even though I really don't think it's going to happen, maybe they draft a Caleb Williams, but they keep Justin Fields for a year and pick up that 5th-year option and not play Caleb Williams right away and let him kind of develop and learn and sit there and get the hang of it before you throw him in there. And then, you bring up the point is you could actually franchise tag Fields again. You could pick up the 5th year. He's in his 4th. You pick up the 5th year, you tag him, and then ultimately you would trade him. And then you would get, if he really develops into a great quarterback, then you just have a tough decision to make. What do I do?
Yeah.
But if you would decide to go with Caleb Williams and trade Fields, you're going to get, you could get multiple 1st-round picks for him if he takes off.
Right. And that, and Caleb is from, he played out there at USC, but he's from DC area.
So they're relatively.
So he had some weather situations, and he did a lot of stuff in Detroit, Michigan. I think they said his aunt or whoever,
right,
with football. So he knows about cold weather. I don't think it's going to be a big
factor.
Yeah. And then when they showed him on I don't know if you guys seen that, the hand size is ridiculous. He got hand size of somebody like, it said like Dr. J.
Yeah, Dr. J's hand size.
I mean, where did he get those hands from?
Yeah.
To be that big.
That's big.
And he engulfs the football. So that's why he's able to run all kind of ways and throw the ball somewhere else. Because the ball is like a little baseball in his hand, basically. So, he's got all the equipment to do what you need to do. But, when you might be the first pick. It's a splash thing, as they say. The Bears need it. They're more than likely going to do that. But I do believe he squashed that stuff about him not playing for the Bears.
Yeah,
because he don't want all that
no
mess. But
he came up.
I believe in his mind he'd rather not play for him. I think he would rather play for Washington.
Oh yeah,
New England, whatever. I think he'd rather play for them than to have to play in Chicago.
Well, Washington, he has Kingsbury as his own coordinator, who he had at USC. So I think that's where everybody, at least my inclination would be, he would really want to go there. Now he's coming out and saying all the right things, and he's right. He goes, I'll be excited to play for the Chicago Bears if they draft me or anyone else who drafts me.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So he's,
and I believe that.
I do.
That you going to the NFL, hey, that's a dream come true. But if I had a preference, I'd rather not play for them. And I would be like that. There'd be certain teams I would say I don't want to play for them.
His hand size, for the record, is 9 5/8. 9 inches 5/8. So it's almost 10 inches.
And that was Kenny Pickett that had 8, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I mean that's a small hand. That's what they
right.
That's why the guy engulfs the football, and that's big for a quarterback to have big hands like that. But I definitely hope he does make it though. I hope he makes it. I hope he be a great quarterback. I like to see really all three of those guys from the top really do something, And then we always gonna have our outliers, people that you're not thinking about. The JJ McCarthy's, who people just they're talking about everybody else. They're talking about Bo Nix, Penix, all these. JJ McCarthy might be the steal because the guy is a great leader, thinks all the time, toughness. He got NFL toughness. There's no question about that. And then he looks to make plays all the time. He can run too. That's the thing. Well, he's fast, but he doesn't look to just run. He's always looking downfield to make plays. This guy might be a steal. I really do. I don't know who might get him. Yeah.
Julius Irving's hand size, it says 9.5/11.7.75.
And was Caleb's 9.5 something?
Caleb
That's why they
Williams
said
was
that.
basically 9. What was that? Where did it go? I had it in front of me. Oh, 9.58. So he's almost 9.5 inches. So he's almost quite 10. And Dr. J's hand size is 9.5. It says I have
So
to.
his is actually bigger.
Yeah, but it said Dr. J says 9.5/11.75. So I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know what that 11 hand. But anyway, you
That's
got
big.
that rough idea.
Yeah, that's
Connie
big.
Hawkins, who had
Yeah.
the late great Connie Hawkins, rest in peace, Connie
Yeah, those
Hawkins.
hands were
One of my favorite players, and one of the best books I ever read was Foul by Connie. It was about his life. Great book. His were 10.5.
I used to watch him.
I loved Connie Hawkins.
The guy just
One of
doing
my
such
favorite NBA
ridiculous
guys.
stuff.
The way he had that ball in his hand.
Yeah.
Came from New York City playgrounds. He and Billy Cunningham grew up in the same area.
Mm-hmm.
I told you the story. Connie Hawkins says, I thought I was poor, and then I ran into Billy Cunningham. He had less than I had, and I didn't have anything. This guy had actually less than me.
Yeah.
Is what he said. They grew up. That's how poor they were. I mean, Cunningham didn't have the right shoes to play in, tennis shoes. His feet were so big, trying to find old tennis shoes. And Connie Hawkins saw this guy. He goes, God, this guy doesn't have. He's tall, skinny kid, didn't have enough food to eat. None of them really had. But you read the book; it's just a great book to read.
Yep.
But
Became
the
a great
point
player,
is,
too.
yeah.
Billy Cunningham was a very good.
And he was a great player. Hawkins was a
coach.
great player. Cunningham was actually a pretty good coach with the 76ers. So the point is, it was just great to read the book and how these guys came from basically the same neighborhood. Roger Brown was from New York City.
Yep.
He got in trouble with the NCAA. So did Connie Hawkins because they got into the car with Molinas. He gave him a ride. Then they couldn't play.
Yeah. It's terrible.
I digress. But the point is, I always like looking at some of the older history of these the great players in the past. They came up the New York playgrounds, New York City playgrounds, known for basketball.
Yep.
New York is a basketball city.
Oh yeah.
Cleveland is a football town. New York is a basketball town.
Yep. Big time.
Big time.
Yep. So I'm looking forward to this draft. We only got about 7 weeks.
Yep.
And it'll all go down. So, I even like what Caleb did, throw an uproar, but he came and explained why when he said he's not taking the medical. And that's the first player to ever do that.
Right.
He said, what I'm taking the medical, what you checking for? I was scheduled to play 34 games. I played all of them. So he said to get the medical when they get ready to come in.
Well, he's going to do the medical.
Yeah, he's going to do it. He's going to do it with the pro day, everything together. Yeah.
I don't understand everybody was so taken back by that. I go, why would you go through that twice?
And that's what he said.
I mean,
he said, I got to take a medical then.
Right. I'll take it
then.
then.
I got to take it again at the pro. I just do it at the pro day. So they got mad because you upset the apple cart of, I told you better do it this way. And that's that's the thing about the combine. It's almost like, I hate to say it, they got this thing, you do it this way.
Very regimented.
And it's some things is questionable. So that was nice to it. He's not worried about he got backlash, but you could see he was steadfast in what he said. He's not worried about no backlash, and he has a reason. And I thought that was a perfect reason. He said they got to do it anyway. When they come in 3 weeks, they got to,
They're going to do the medical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I read that and saw that, and I thought, why is everybody getting?
Yeah. Now I guess he's a troublesome player. Now he's a,
Well, you
a
see,
malcontent.
we go through this.
That's what they do too.
Every year, and this is maybe, I don't know if you want to call it a drawback with the time they wait. They sit there, and it's analysis by paralysis. They overanalyze this crap. He didn't want to take the medical. No one's ever done that. Well, then this guy's got to be some kind of a malcontent.
Oh yeah, they're going.
This guy's got an attitude. That's not what a leader would do. You're going to have all these.
Oh, it's coming down.
Oh, they're all going to sit there and grind on this for the next 2 months, and we've seen it where they've talked themselves out of drafting a player over stuff like this.
I tell you, if you're in a position, I'm thinking if I'm in a position as a GM or whoever, and I'm doing a draft, if I allow the fans or the media to get in my head to make me change, I don't need to have the job.
Well, that's that old saying.
You're not the GM. The fans are.
When you
insane.
That's that saying. When you start listening to the fans, you become one.
Yeah, right. You'll be sitting out there.
Right.
You're going to sit out there with
You're
the
going to
fans.
sit out there. If you listen to them and what they think, you're going to ultimately be out there with them.
Yeah. Like our boy that's coming up, I think it's going to happen to him, Robert Saleh. Because every time something is said, he's worried about what the media says. He's worried about what this. He was upset about because Rodgers didn't back. You heard that, right?
What was this?
When the media came down on him, and you can look it up, about the problems the Jets was having towards the end of the season and different things. And he's looking for that quarterback. Aaron Rodgers coming back. Aaron Rodgers didn't say anything. He was kind of upset because he's not getting backed. Why are you worried about that? Rodgers said, when they asked him about it, he said, I don't understand why you're worrying about what outside people are saying about what goes in our locker room. They don't know. He said, so I don't have any comment to say anything. And I don't think our coach needs to. So he's upset about that, but that's true. Why are you worrying about what people are saying outside the confines of your team? And if it's somebody on the team that's leaking things, then you need to get rid of them. Yeah. Because it should be just in that home. That's a home. That's your family.
Yeah, that's basically.
Yeah, you don't do that.
Stays in what happens.
He's looking for somebody to back him. Now, that's somebody that looks like they may be fired soon.
Well, he's on.
I hate to say it.
Saleh's on the hot seat. Obviously, we can talk about coaches entering in this season.
Yeah,
I think Saleh's on the hot seat. I think to some extent, Dable could be on the hot seat. Bill Belichick is looming out there.
Yeah.
So I think you have certain coaches out there could potentially be on a hot seat. If the Giants start off 2-7 or 1-8, then there's going to be pressure on the Maris to do something. Yeah. Again, Belichick is hanging out there. Rumor out there already that there's, the press is already starting. That
they're going to
bring in Belichick, bring in Bill.
Let him end his career as a New York Giant.
Bill Belichick saving the Giant franchise. Then there's talk about the Jets potentially bringing Belichick in if Saleh fails. So the Bill Belichick's going to be the ghost or the person in the room, sort of to speak, haunting everybody.
Vrabel is still out there,
and Vrabel's still out there too. You got two guys. Vrabel's younger, so he could be filling in mid-season for somebody. I would be
please
shocked.
Somebody tell me what's going on with Eric Bieniemy. Why do you got to go to college?
That's a whole different discussion. Time out. We'll be back after this Saturday morning sports.
Hi, it's Mark Means, host of By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Saturday Morning Sports Page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, 330-707-4202. First hour, we talked NIL. The first quarter, the second quarter, we got into the draft. And, just basically NIL is here to stay. They're not going to limit that. They think they can. They're not going to because there's no court in the – they're going to lose that. And college – see, the problem with college football, they have to figure out a model. And they can't use it. The NIL, right now they're getting by with paying the players through NIL. Okay, if you want to use that model, that's fine. Because they don't want to have to pay the players and make them employees. That's what they don't want to do. But now they're whining and complaining because NIL is so totally out of control. Too bad. Because you can't limit that. But if you're going to use that model and you want to pay your players with that NIL money, okay, but you're not going to be able to limit that. So if you take that model and you want to stay with that model because you don't want to make these players employees and pay them a salary, because obviously then if you make college football players employees and pay them, they'll get a union. Then they'll get a union chief, and then they're going to have to deal with the union, and then they're going to want more money, and you're going to have to basically sit there and deal with the union, or they'll go out on strike. Because that's where you're heading here, people. And the NCAA and college football knows that. So they don't want to make them employees, because once they open up that door and make your players, quote, employees, not only do you make them employees and have to pay them and they become benefits, etc., they can go get a union, and then you got to deal with the union, and they can go out on strike if they don't like the deal.
Yeah.
And then if you have all these multiple colleges like Miami and Bowling Green and all the lower level colleges, you have to pay those guys too. Mm-hmm. And how do you sit there and say, well, we're going to pay the Bowling Green players different than we're going to pay Ohio State players? Yeah. See, they don't want any part of that, which I understand that. Mm-hmm. So the way they're getting by this is they're letting the NIL being their model and paying the players that way, which is okay. But you can't limit that.
Yeah. They always got to have something to whine about.
Oh, of course they do. As they signed the $1 billion over excess of $1 billion for the 12-team playoff, which, by the way, in 2 years is going to get to 14. Because now they're talking that in 2026 they want that to be 14 teams. Mm-hmm. And then someone said, okay, then So we're making a crack at, and in 2026, it's going to be 14, and in 2028, it'll be 16. Because that's what they're going to do. They're going to see all the money that they're getting in coming through the door, and they're going to expand that, which I don't blame them, because we've always talked, it's always about more money that you can get. And they'll get a bigger fat TV contract with the more teams they get.
They will. And the more teams you get involved in college, well, we know these is colleges, but still, regardless, the more money flows in.
Right.
And that's what they want. That's the bottom line.
That's
It's
it.
always the bottom line.
Right.
And everything.
Right.
The bottom line.
And nobody's going to really complain about getting too much football. Not in this country.
Yeah, well, you won't have a complaint
No.
out of me.
You're just going to have ratings going
That
through
just
the
make me
roof.
get more TVs. That's
Right.
about it. Because I'll have it all on.
Yeah, you're going to have it all on. But the reality, and then you know what they're going to do. They're going to stream some of those games to Amazon and Peacock, because they can get, they're just going to follow the NFL model. And the NFL is streaming these games. Next year, a playoff game is going to be on Amazon. College football is going to go, football playoff, more teams. You and I know that Amazon's going to sit there, or Peacock or somebody is going to offer them millions of dollars to stream a game.
For the college playoff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's coming.
Yeah, that's coming.
Yeah.
And they're not going to say no.
No way. No way they're
What
going to
was
say
it?
no.
120 million the Peacock game got?
Yeah.
From NFL?
For one game.
One game was 120 million. Yeah.
For just one game. Can you imagine that? One playoff game, 120 million.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. The NFL game on Peacock.
Yeah. It's right around there. And we're just talking, that's just the one playoff game that they're getting. And that's just, whew. Can you imagine?
Yeah. I got to look up, I had looked this up earlier, and I believe the NFL, I think the number was 120 million.
But you know, the sad thing about all this thing about, and it's not sad as far as the money is concerned, but the situation that really bothers me is when I see those four founder guys that brung the NFL into where it's so prevalent now, and how much money you can make, and these guys struggling to even live. That little pension thing that they set up with the NFL is terrible. I think compared to these guys should be taken care of. Doesn't make any sense. With this kind of money they're making, there shouldn't be ever an issue about medical and all this. These guys can't even get serviced medically.
No.
That makes no sense to me. Not with this type of money.
Not with this money flying.
This is unbelievable.
For the record, I was off 10 million. They made 110 million. I stand corrected.
Well, somebody.
So the NFL Peacock was 110 million.
One
game. Now, if they go to college football,
they're going.
And you and I know that's coming. And they're going to go to college football and say Peacock or Amazon or somebody.
Yeah.
They're going to go to a college football game, and this to say it's going to be pretty good college football matchup. And they go to the NCAA, or not but the college, and say, we're going to give you, we want to stream that game. Here's 100 million, 95, whatever million. What do you think? They're going to be right. You mean we can get $100 million for that one game? Oh, okay, fine.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll do it.
Oh, it's coming.
Yeah.
Now, didn't they stream? Who had Peacock? Notre Dame and Ohio State, or just Notre Dame?
Oh,
this past year.
Well, right now, basketball, there's Big Ten games
football.
on. Oh, football.
Didn't somebody have a game on Peacock? You only could get it on Peacock? Notre Dame or Ohio? Somebody.
Yeah, Notre Dame did. Notre Dame had one game with Peacock only because they're with NBC.
Yeah, they are. That's true.
It was Notre Dame had a game. This Myrish Mike, if he calls in today, will know. But there was a game that Notre Dame played that was strictly a Peacock game.
Yeah.
If you look at college basketball right now,
oh yeah, they have it.
That Caitlin Clark's games have been on Peacock.
Yeah.
Her last couple games for the Iowa have been Peacock games because I looked it up. And then Ohio State this past year and the Big Ten have Peacock games. So a lot of the games, if they're not on Big Ten, they're on Peacock.
Right.
But the Big Ten has a deal worked out with Peacock because Ohio State's been on they were on Peacock 2 or 3 times, I believe. And there were other teams on Peacock. So they have college basketball already on it.
Right.
What would prevent them from going football? In fact, playoff football. And again, Amazon's going to have, I can look up that, but this year coming up, 2024, there is an NFL playoff game on Amazon.
Yeah, no.
Well, they get $1 billion for the Thursday night. NFL gets $1 billion. B as in boy, they get $1 billion for that.
For that package, right?
For that package. The NFL gets $1 billion from
that's why I said
Amazon
it makes no sense for these
to do
NFL
the Thursday
players.
night games.
And no NFL former player should be struggling.
No.
There's no way.
No.
With that type of money flowing?
With that kind of money, no.
There's no way.
They should have a fund.
Right. Yes.
Well,
it's sad. It's sad.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So
no, there's no doubt. The NFL has got it where they can print the money. I mean, Roger Goodell you don't have to be a rocket science to be to be the commissioner. When you have people begging, throwing money at you for your product, it's like the old saying, I'm selling ice water in the desert. You got a lot of people got to pay you a lot of money because because it's hot, dry, and you got ice water. People are going to give you as much money as you want.
Now, speaking of that, streaming with Caitlin Clark, and also they did some LSU games
with Angel,
and they WNBA started pressing them to come. You need to declare. And neither one of them didn't until just, I think, yesterday.
Caitlin Clark
said it.
Declared.
Now they're going
yesterday.
after Angel Reese hard.
They want
come.
her. They
because
have
if they get both of them coming at the same time, the money escalates to the WNBA. And they don't want one and just one of them. They want both.
No, they need them both.
Same time.
No, you got a rival there. We talked about it last week.
Yeah.
You've got the rival.
And they know it too, and they do it on purpose. I believe they probably call each other.
Oh, they do. Well,
I wouldn't doubt it.
No, they do.
I wouldn't doubt
They
it.
say that Angel Reese congratulated Caitlin on her scoring title.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're kind of pretty good friends and they talk and they know this and they're saying they're working it, and they should to their advantage. Again, the thing what I was wondering with Caitlin Clark, I don't know if I would have gone to the WNBA. I would have stayed another year because your NIL's going through the roof.
Yeah, I know.
And I thought that Angel Reese would do the same. Like they would say, no, let's stay in college another year and build this rival.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get more money because now people are going to be like wanting to watch our games and their ratings are through the roof and they're selling those arenas out. I mean, they were showing Caitlin Clark when they played Nebraska. They showed Nebraska. All the people were lined outside, standing in line for tickets. They sell out. That's women's basketball right now. There's an argument to be made that the women's college basketball has got more juice and more interest than the men's.
Yeah,
and they're probably right to some extent.
Yep. The reason I thought they might be together gave me suspicions when this situation happened last year at the championship, and Angel Reese gave the sign to Caitlin that you can't see me.
Yeah,
that thing. But after it was over, Caitlin Clark in an interview said, "Oh, she got me,
right?
Because that's her famous move. Always do. You can't see me,
right?
So she did it to her.
She did it to her.
But the big uproar is really the fans.
Oh,
they turned it from just a rivalry, enemies to almost racist at times.
Oh, they did.
And
they did. They worked that.
Yeah. And that was terrible because these guys, you could tell they got some kind of camaraderie to know what they're doing. They know what this is doing. This is money. This is driving the needle upward. Yeah.
And they're laughing the whole time.
So they're all the way to the bank.
And they know that. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark know what they can do to drive up ratings and we talk about it, the higher the ratings, the more eyeballs on the set, the price goes
And
up.
then why did the WNBA want them?
Oh,
They're trying to compare the Magic and the Bird type of thing.
Of course
bringing
they
these
are.
two players in at the same time.
Oh, gee whiz.
And isn't that a coincidence? Yeah.
Right. You can make more money.
Yes, sir. That's right. Yep. And that's what I believe that. So the money is going to go up. The contract for the WNBA is going to help all the other players because they're going to start. It's going to go up.
Well, it's like this. Oh, by the way, just to slide back a little bit, we're on the same kind of the subject. The Amazon Prime playoff game this year in 2024, the estimated price for what the NFL is going to get is $120 million. So they've gone up by $10 million and went from 110 to 120. For one game, one playoff game on Amazon, NFL will probably pull in about 120 million.
You know, when you used to play Monopoly, when you used to literally say, "Oh, I got this is what this is." It's just throw money around.
We always say that when you debate is now I'm looking at this. This looks like it could be up to 150 million. So anywhere between 120 to 150. I'm looking at report now, depending on where you read. This what says Amazon will reportedly pay a hefty sum to get the exclusive rights for an NFL playoff game, and that looks to be 150 million. So we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 150 million for one playoff game. Now, if you go back to the college model and you start looking at college football model, now you want to throw in Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. They're with interest they are, generating. The WNBA is thinking they're Bird and Magic. Save us. Because if they come in, they can work that rival and they're going to put them on teams that will play one another enough. And that's going to get eyeballs to the set, which once you get eyeballs to the set, that's where the ratings go up and that's where the money goes up because now the TV contracts go up. Because once the ratings go, that's the interest part. Those two women players could be themselves are generating potentially millions of dollars easily to the WNBA if they get in and they start with the rival and they can generate ratings. And they might.
And I agree with you. I do feel that the women's college game is more prevalent than the boys' game at this time. Because, I mean, it's not just them. There's so many young ladies out there in college basketball that's and you didn't even talk about South Carolina, which is the number one team in the nation.
They're the number one team.
Always been for the last, 3-4 years.
I have a feeling that this year, the women's college basketball ratings may be comparable, I could be wrong, to the men's college basketball. As far as ratings go, because of the Angel Reese, the Caitlin Clark, they're good teams. South Carolina, you've got all great storylines, and people want to watch these players play.
Yeah.
And, you're going to be like, okay, it's, playoff time. Well, where are the women at? I want to watch them play. I want to see if Caitlin Clark could break. Well, she's going to break Maravich's record. Then there's one more record. I got to look it up there's one less she could get to it. It might be a reach, but she can get to it.
Yeah.
But we're talking about it. We're talking about women's college basketball and Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. We never talked about it before in the show, but now because that's what's got the interest and everybody paying attention.
Yeah.
And women's college basketball is generating a lot of interest. And now you've got, like I said, Caitlin Clark games were on Peacock.
Yeah. And just to bring back what you said about the NFL, 150 million.
150 million now.
Bob brought up something that's he said, now that's Amazon is paying them, correct?
Yes.
So what is Amazon making?
Well, there's your question. Evidently, they're making enough because they're going to get the ratings and they know at the end of the day.
So they probably at least double. Wouldn't you say double?
They sell the advertising They get a lot of money off advertising. They know the ratings are there. People are streaming. People are going to buy Amazon Prime to get the game.
Oh, and it's a playoff game. They're going to do it.
It's
They
a
got to say
playoff
it.
game. They did it for Peacock. I've got Amazon Prime. I've had it for years just because I love the how you have stuff delivered. But the point on it is then you get great shows on it on top of it. So the point is you're just going to get people continually they're going to get Amazon ratings, though the ratings will be there. Advertisers will pay money to advertise on the NFL. And they're going to, they're paying money to do for college basketball, women and men. But the point is, I mean, I know people get upset about having to pay for this, and I understand it. But at the end of the day, that's where they're heading to. And there's going to be maybe, I don't know, any time in the future, they talk about, could the Super Bowl be on Amazon someday? What would they pay? It might be. I'd never rule it out.
I tell you guys, they need to send us some residual.
Yeah.
For doing talking about football. They should just send us anything. Just a little something that we just sniff it. That type of money that they're making.
Well, they're making a lot of money. They're doing it. They know people are watching.
Yeah.
They know their ratings are high. They're going to get eyeballs to the set. And the people that are not only watching or paying to watch it, because you're signing up for $4.99 for the 1 month for Peacock. The Prime is whatever, $15-$16 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to go in and getting baseball's on Amazon Prime. The Yankees are on Amazon Prime. Now, I mean, you have
that was unbelievable, man.
Yeah, and remember, the owners out there will do anything for money. Like they see it, and fans get upset. I got sad news for fans. The owners don't care.
Yeah.
You're cattle. You'll follow.
Right.
You're cattle. They don't care about the fans paying money. You're cattle. And they're actually saying when the reality is, when you look at, they don't even need to sell out their games. They just need to get the TV money, what they're banging from TV. Like the reason why UCLA and USC and Washington and Oregon joined the Big Ten is because of the Big Ten network and the money that generates. The Pac-12 network was a failure and generated really no money. They jumped to the Big Ten because of the money, because I think it was 60 to 70 million. Each school, I think, gets 60 to 70 million to get to the Big Ten off the Big Ten network. That's what they get. See, that's what, and that's why ultimately they're saying with the college football, what's going to ultimately happen, they believe is the Big Ten and the SEC are going to take over. And then the Big 12 will follow, and the ACC will probably either have to follow or they'll disband the ACC. But they think ultimately down the road, you're going to have like they're talking already that college football is going to try to look like pro football with an AFC and an NFC conference. You're just going to, you could call it the Big Ten and the SEC, and you're going to have two super conferences.
And they'll play for the Super Bowl.
And then what they'll do is they will have ultimately, they will change. All you're going to do is you'll look at the NFL playoff model, and they'll adopt the playoff model, and you're going to have two power conferences, say with 10 teams or 12 teams in each conference in the playoffs. So you're going to have almost 24 teams, but you could have two power conferences at 12 and 12, and they would have 12 playoff teams in each conference with the two winners, and that would be their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because you could see this, you know what? You don't have to be really, you don't have to be a rocket science to figure this out. Right now, the NFL is the main driver of the boat, sort of. They make the most money. Mm-hmm. College football's second. Then the other sports follow through. The point on it is this, is when you look at college football, they're looking at the NFL model. That's why because the NCAA will cease and desist. They won't even be in the picture anymore. They're going to be gone. They're going to get run over by football. They're not going to be able to enforce stupid rules. They're going to be at the end. It's not going to. I know people can't let go of the players are athletes, student athletes. They're going to get a degree. Get over that. This is money. When they're signing billion-dollar deals, yearly deals to do college football playoffs, that just blows anything out. So at the end of the day, you're going to have, I see this as you're going to have some kind of either have 3 or you're going to have 2 power conferences with a playoff system mapped in.
Yeah.
Well, you see, the problem you ultimately have with college football and what kind of holds the college football back, if I want to call it that, is they don't have a commissioner. You need to have a commissioner, and you really need to have it really mapped out and set like the NFL does. But then also with that, when you start paying the players, you're going to have to give them a union. And then you have to start negotiating contracts, and that's where college football doesn't want to go. I've talked about it. NIL, they're using NIL for that. Now they think they're going to limit the NIL. Well, they're not going to limit the NIL. Legally, they're not going to be able to do that. So, but college football wants to try to, I think, in my eyes, mimic the NFL and then the streaming and all the other money. And we talked, college football will go, I will guarantee you playoff games will end up on streaming.
Yeah.
If
it's coming.
If the NFL can get 150, anywhere between 120 to 150 million for one game on Amazon for 2024 playoff, that's just 2024. What happens in 2025 when these ratings continue to just go skyrocket?
Right. Yep.
And that $1 billion Thursday night deal is going to look like a deal for the whole package. $1 billion. That's going to look like, hey, that's a pretty good deal. Because you're paying 150 for a playoff game.
Yeah, for one.
I mean, you could see at the end of the day, when you look at the impact the TV has and streaming services have, it's just going to basically start, blows everything away as far as college football, college basketball. And I mean, if you're right, if the WNBA wants to kind of get in, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, there you go. I'm surprised they came out. I thought Caitlin Clark would stay another year because she would make so much more money off NIL doing college basketball. And WNBA doesn't pay that much. She'll make anything she would have.
That's what make me think there's some deal.
There has to be.
Under they done talked about.
Right.
So she'll be okay.
Oh, yeah. No, she'll be fine because she will have Caitlin Clark, for the record, will get, and Angel, they will get NIL money. You see, they're going to continue to get NIL money.
Yeah.
When they be getting done in WNBA, they're going to continue. But what will help the WNBA with those 2 players, now you're going to get eyeballs to the set that you don't have.
Right.
They're going to generate those 2 players can generate eyeballs to your set and help your TV ratings,
right?
Which you don't have right now. So that's kind of where the WNBA needs Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese to come out, because then you're going to have that. Then you're going to have that peaked interest, and they have that. Those 2 are building.
They are some very, very good players in the WNBA.
Oh, there is.
You ever watch it? Oh,
yeah. The thing is, you don't know that because no one's watching it.
Yeah, you're not watching like that.
But if you start to generate and get fans looking at Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese coming out, that's going to be the question. The question's going to be, because the only drawback when the WNBA plays, when do they, people don't even know when they play. So will people be more apt to watch the WNBA versus college basketball? That's going to be the caveat that is going to be a tough nut.
Yeah.
Players have to overcome, is because they're on it and they're just not generating the ratings because the time of the year that they're on.
I got to see when their season is. I thought it's during
it's summer.
Summer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more of a summer season. And like I said, now there's talk with the NBA, what they should do with their season, because they come in October. Nobody pays attention to the NBA until now.
They really should start in December.
They should start December and get away from the NFL, because the NFL is where all the eyeballs are at.
Yeah. I would definitely start in December.
They talked about that. Go to December to July.
Yeah.
Saturday Morning Sports Page. We got fourth quarter coming up after a quick timeout on Western Reserve Radio.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Mahoning Valley's leader for golf, Milk Creek Golf Course, is now booking tee times for 2024. We offer stay and play opportunities available with 9 area hotel partners. For more information, visit our website at millcreekmetroparks.org. Also, look for new, exciting opportunities coming soon, including an indoor player development center with Trackman, an indoor Callaway Club Fitting Center, and an Odyssey Fitting Studio in 2024. Follow us on Facebook at Milk Creek Golf Course or call 330-740-7112.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take 1.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Looking for future leaders we can believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Ohio. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It includes learning to listen, accepting responsibility, being a good role model, and it's about respect. The result, it transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Saturday Morning Sports Page back 330-707-4202. It is the fourth quarter of the show, Dave Clark. So the WNBA season, Dave Clark, starts, you said May
14th.
May 14th.
And it runs through September.
So it's May to September.
Mm-hmm.
It's the summer.
Yeah.
Only
Just
thing
the beginning of the NFL season. Not bad.
It competes against baseball.
Yeah.
So
with those two going in there, plus your other
potentially
talent, they could take over.
Could they generate the interest? Summer's tough because people are out and about.
Yeah.
But could the two players, Caitlin and Angel, get into the NBA and then WNBA and basically get the sit ratings up? Because that's right now where the problem with the WNBA, their ratings are really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, we get into paying. That they complain because they don't get paid like the NBA. They don't have the ratings. However, the way some of the NBA ratings are going, this is going to be very interesting because their TV contract is coming up. NBA is with TNT and ESPN. I believe their TV contracts are up. At least I know with TNT. Then the question is going to be, the NBA, do they want more money? Does TNT want to give them more money based on their ratings?
Mm-hmm.
Going to be interesting.
Yeah.
See how that plays itself out. But the point on it is when you look at the WNBA, they need the ratings. And once they get if the ratings get up, then they can get a better TV deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the players can make more money.
Yeah. And that's key. TV deals is the big.
It's always the TV deal.
Yeah.
It's always can the TV and people go into the games.
Right.
And does Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese generate enough interest during the summer to have people show up to the arena? That's kind of a tough nut to sit inside in the summer to go to a game.
Yeah, it's tough.
That's tough. Baseball's outside. People go outside. You enjoy the weather.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be inside in an arena. So,
yeah,
we'll see what happens. I mean, and then obviously spring football.
Yeah, starts this month.
It starts this
March
month.
30th.
You have the two. What is it? Does it start in March?
Yeah, March 30th.
March
UFL.
30th. So they're going to be up against baseball, which actually I think they have a good chance of making an impact because that's going to be now with the two leagues joining.
Yeah.
Potentially in the future, that could be a spring football league is basically.
Yeah. If they keep it right.
If they keep it right,
going.
like the USFL had it right until they went up against the NFL, that's where they lost it. But if they would have stayed a spring football.
Don't remind me.
Yeah, that's right. Dave actually was there.
Don't remind. That's just you've seen
Dave
a
Clark
blossom of something happening, and down the tubes it went. Oh my!
And the sad part was it was doing pretty good.
Yeah,
they had a TV contract. You had some interest, growing interest.
Yeah,
people were getting into kind of watching those teams.
Yeah,
They were like Super Bowl teams, watching their playoffs and those teams play. Spring football started to generate interest. And like I said, then all of a sudden the bottom fell out when
you can't try to fight the monster. Just
you
leave
can't
the monster
win.
alone. And,
Right. You could have stayed. The NFL would have left you alone as a spring football league. They didn't care. No.
And if it became a situation that is challenging them, they know what to do. They start doing what they did with the old AFL, and they'll get the best teams in that USFL and would have put them into the NFL. That's exactly what they would have did. And broke that league right down.
One thing with the AFL, they took the whole league, no teams. Like couple difference. When you look at the ABA and the NBA merged in 1976.
Yeah, they just took certain.
Unfortunately, they were like the Kentucky Colonels.
Yep, they
were out. Some people were upset because they thought the Kentucky Colonels should have been part of the NBA, and I agree they should have been. They didn't make it, and there were a couple other teams that didn't.
Virginia Squires.
Virginia Squires were good. They didn't make it. So, but the difference realistically is in the AFL, the AFL had a contract with NBC. I talked about this a few weeks ago. The AFL didn't need to merge.
No.
They did not need that. People think, no. The AFL, the AFL had a great deal. What bailed the AFL out, the AFL was struggling until I think it was in 65 or 64. They signed a big fat TV contract with NBC. That's what made that league go because the teams like the New York Titans with New York Jets were struggling. There were a couple other teams struggling. Once they got the NBC deal with TV, they were fine.
Yep.
They became solvent. They could pay all their bills, the players. It was great. AFL was on their own. Al Davis, rumor had it, Al Davis didn't even want to join the NFL because he said, no, we can actually outdo the NFL because we think we're just as good and we have a TV contract that lines up with them. We don't need them.
And but the only exciting football too. I'm gonna be honest with you. AFL was fun. Yeah, it was exciting.
I'll get to this, but AFL, what people don't realize, the AFL talent-wise, especially toward the latter part of the 60s, was just as good as the NFL.
Oh yeah. I've even questioned if it was better. Yep, that's what I was gonna say. I questioned it wasn't better.
They had a Facebook threw a thing out there. It said they wanted to rate the first 5. Yeah, it was the first 5 teams to win the Super Bowl. They had the 60 would have been the 66 Packers, the 67 Packers, the Jets. Would have been the Colts. No, the Chiefs and the Colts.
Yeah.
Those 5 teams. Where would you rate them? You had the 2 Packer teams.
Mm-hmm.
You had the Jet team. You had the Chiefs and the Colts that won the last 5th Super Bowl. Where would you rate those teams?
I actually almost will put the Chiefs.
That's what I did.
Chiefs team.
I thought that
maybe near
the
top.
Chiefs, the 70 or the 69 Chiefs, of all those teams, that was the best team. Now, all the Packer fans would probably disagree with that, but I thought that 69 Chief team that beat the Vikings, that was the best team of the lot of those 5.
Oh, that team was
then you could
loaded.
the Packers might have been, those two Packer teams would be like second and third. I would probably put the Colts fourth and the Jets fifth.
Yeah, I mean,
but I thought the Chiefs, that Chief team, that roster on that team,
that's ridiculous. That
was
roster.
a great roster, a great team. And again, why Otis Taylor's not in the Hall of Fame, I still to this day don't have any idea. But
I think about that team.
That team was loaded.
I mean, Otis Taylor,
Right.
Elmo Wright,
Frank
Pitts, who later went to the Browns.
Yeah.
And they had Nolan Smith,
right,
Mike Garrett, Gloucester Richardson. I forgot about him.
Yeah.
Was another receiver. And they was loaded.
They were loaded.
Offensive line was great.
Yeah.
and
then you had
go
the
to defense. That
defense.
linebacker crew of Bell,
Willie
and
Lanier,
and Jim
Buck,
Lynch.
Buck Buchanan. I mean, Bobby Bell, Buck Buchanan, Lanier, they were mentored. Jim Lynch
on the outside.
That team, that Kansas City, Kansas City Chief team, that 69 Chief team, I thought when they threw those 5 Super Bowl teams out there, I thought my first inclination was the Chief team is the best of that lot. Even though hardcore NFL fans would argue with you, no, there's no way.
Oh, I think
AFL.
I think they'll put Green Bay. They'll probably put the Colts next.
Yeah.
You know, I believe they would do that. Then they maybe say KC, then the Jets.
Yeah, they put KC at the Lenny Dawson was your quarterback for the KC Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
They were loaded.
Oh, on both sides of the ball.
Was loaded. When you look at that Kansas City Chief team in the 69 won the 70 Super Bowl. And by the way, they beat, and Minnesota was a really good football team.
Yeah.
Great defense. People forget that was like, and they were favored by 14 points.
Yeah.
And Minnesota they really outplayed bad.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, bad.
They lost 23-7.
And
they were really never in the game.
And it could have been worse than that.
And it could have been worse. But the point is, that's what people don't understand is that Chief team and that AFL evolved to realistically as equal, if not better, than the NFL.
Yeah. So they didn't have to do it.
And they didn't have to merge. The
NFL knew it. That's why they went so hard after that.
The only reason why they merged is because of they did not want to jack up the price on the player's salary. They didn't want to negotiate against one another going after the players coming out of college or players moving on. They didn't have free agency yet.
Right.
But they did not want to get negotiating against themselves for these guys coming out of college. So the problem they had is you have these college great players coming out. All of a sudden, the college players are sitting there letting whoever drafted them from the AFL and NFL go at it.
Yeah.
And then they'll say, okay, I'll take who out. They have no allegiance. They go, I'm going to take whoever gives me the most money. Yeah. Well, I think it was Art Modell said in this book that I read, was a fantastic book, said the reason why they got the merger done, it was really Lamar Hunt was really behind it. Modell was in NFL, but they got together. Davis didn't want any part of the merge. He wanted to stay alone, AFL, because he knew we can make money, we could compete, we don't need them.
Right.
Because that's Al. Al was very, he was like,
I like Al.
A tough guy. Yeah.
I love Al.
Al. The point on it is Lamar Hunt knew that was the future, and he didn't want to get into negotiating for the players and have to overpay the players to come. So that's how they merged. It was basically negotiating the players. The AFL was solvent on their own. Mm-hmm. Now the ABA was, I think, doing okay, but they weren't quite as solvent as the AFL. The ABA was doing okay because they were starting to gain ratings, but they ultimately got the NFL to merge, but they didn't take all the teams. Where back the AFL, they took all the teams.
And I'm thinking about that Kansas City Chiefs team that had Mike Garrett at running back.
Yeah, Garrett.
People don't realize in 1965, the Kansas City Chiefs, if they did or were getting ready to draft Gale Sayers and our guy in Chicago, went and made sure Hallis.
Oh, Hallis did.
Made sure that they got him. They drafted him too, and they made sure that they paid and got Gale Sayers. So I'm thinking about, You already had Mike Garrett, and you're going to draft Gale Sayers.
That team, could you see Sayers on the? Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's what you've got. You had that Kansas City going after Sayers potentially.
Yeah.
Then you had potentially him going to Kansas City, and Hallis wasn't going to let him out of the office.
That's what
without
happened.
signing the contract, because he definitely wasn't going to lose Gale Sayers.
Right.
Because there would have been absolute, they would have burned Chicago down if they lost Gale Sayers. They would have gone nuts. There would have been fan outrage through the streets of Chicago had you lost Gale Sayers.
Just thinking about stuff like that and just imagining him playing for the Kansas City Chiefs with Mike Garrett.
Yeah,
That's
it would have
insane.
been great had Sayers made his way, if Sayers would have been a Kansas City Chief, because maybe they don't have AstroTurf. Maybe he doesn't blow the knee out, and maybe he has a longer career, and maybe he, breaks more records. Maybe he rivals Brown's record.
Yeah, you never know. That dude was
There's one thing.
way before his time, that's for sure.
I do want to say one thing. As much as, I think Caitlin Clark has done so much for the college basketball. But the only thing I'm going to throw, I know she's going to break Maravich's record. But got to remember a few things about Pistol Pete Maravich and that record.
Yeah.
He did it. Pistol Pete did that in like half the games that Caitlin Clark played in.
Right.
And he only had 3 years and no 3-point line.
Right.
Pete Maravich was a total freak of nature back then.
Yeah, no.
Growing up in that time frame, and I remember I got to see Pete Maravich play.
Yeah, me too.
A little bit. I got to actually go to a game, an NIT game that he played. He didn't play very good, but he played. He played Marquette. Al McGuire Marquette team beat him in the semifinals and beat St. John's, who beat Army, who was coached by Bobby Knight. And they called a phantom foul on the Army player that gave St. John's the win. Was bad. I was at the game and people went crazy because they actually, New York, they like Bobby Knight, Army coach.
Yeah.
And Bobby was a great coach. But the point on it is, Maravich is totally in a class unto itself when it comes to scoring. Pete Maravich is just, he averaged, I believe I got to get these numbers in front of me. He averaged over 40 points a game when he was, he gave, in his 3 years at LSU, his first, as a sophomore, he played in 26 games. He averaged 43.8. Second year as a junior, he played in 26 games. He averaged 44 points a game. The last year, his senior year, he averaged 44.5 a game. His career he averaged 44.2. In 83 games. Caitlin will break his record, and I think it's
she's
fantastic.
In 100 and something games, though, right?
Right. Caitlin's played, I believe, in double the games. And she's got a 3-point line.
Right. He did his 3-pointers was the old fashioned way.
Right. He did it basically the old, was.
Yeah, he's good hit.
And he could pass.
Mm-hmm.
He was an unbelievable player. But when you look at Caitlin Clark, as great as she is, she's a great player. But when you look at her total games played, she played her freshman year, she averaged 32 a game. Her sophomore year was 27. Her next year was 27, and this year is almost 27, 26.
Yeah.
And she'll break Maravich's record. But when you take the total games, she played, let's see, if you do the fast math, is she played in 57 plus 64.
57 plus 64 games?
Yeah, together. You add those together.
121.
Yeah, 121. She's played in 121 games. She's not done yet.
Right.
But She's played in 121 games, and Maravich basically played in 83. So she's not done yet. She's probably going to play with playoffs. She's finished the season. She'll get they'll have the Big Ten tournament, and then she'll play in the NCAA tournament.
Right.
She'll probably play in at least 10 more games.
Yeah, at least.
At least.
So I don't know how many they got left for the season, but it's close to that time for tournament
So
time.
if you add 10
It's at
games,
least 10.
she's got a couple games left.
That's 130-something games.
Right. Pete Maravich did it in 83
That's
with no
50
3-point line.
50-something more games.
Yeah, she's played in 50 more. Yeah, she played in a few more games, and she's at a 3-point line.
I was telling the guy
just
about that, and he was like, "Oh, I seen him play when he was with the Celtics." I said, "Man, that was a shell of the real Pete Maravich. That was at the end of his
he was
career.
and he
He'd been
blew the
injured.
knee. He was
playing.
He
Yeah,
had no knee. One knee was gone.
I said, "That's not the same
No.
guy."
No,
I said you need to just go to YouTube and watch some stuff.
You need to go back, watch him. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
true.
You have right. You give. I guess if you wanted to break it out.
Yep.
And if you take all her 3-pointers and just make them 2-pointers.
Yeah, and see what that is.
And then it would
see what her point
right.
total.
You're going to drop that down.
Oh,
but
yeah, way.
she's a great player.
Yeah, still don't want
and
to
I
take that
don't
away
mean
from
to take anything away from her.
But I don't like when they lose sight of what
You
these
lose-
guys
right.
did.
You can't
You know.
take. I mean, Maravich scored 3,667 points. He averaged 44.2 points a game, as we talked. There was no 3-point line at all, and no shot clock.
Right.
See, that's the other thing you have to realize with Maravich is there was no shot clock. So if they were playing a team, and the team said, "Well, we don't want him to touch the ball. We can hold the ball,
Yeah.
and we could just close. We
do
could just
4
wind this game
4
down
quarters.
4 quarters."
And just all
And
day
we
just
could
pass it
and we
around.
could pass it around and make them foul us, but we can keep the ball. We can play keep away from Maravich. Can't do that. You got a shot clock and they got 3-pointer. So what folks need to understand is you've got to look at the era he played in, the limitations. He had no 3-pointer, no shot clock.
Right.
He still averages 44.2 points a game. And he did it with, again, no shot clock, no 3-pointer, and he did it in 83 games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unbelievable. And he almost takes the, even like with Jabbar, what people don't realize, what made his, as Lou Alcindor when he played for UCLA, but what made him so unbelievable is they took away the dunk. They did away, he outlawed the dunk so he couldn't dunk the ball, totally dominate the game. But he even came out and said that was the best thing that ever happened to me because I really developed my sky hook and I really developed other shots. So it was good because then I couldn't dunk over people. I would have never been developing my other shots in the game. So that was to my advantage that they did that because it made me a better player.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm a big guy as far as history. When people talk to me about these guys, hey, he rushed for 2,200 and some yards in the NFL. That's the best. I said, no, it happened in 1973 when O.J. Simpson did 2003. How you figure? I said, this dude did it in the mud. He did it on last game was on ice.
And 14 games.
In 14 games. I said, not 16.
No, he had 14.
Not 18 or whatever. It was 17. I said 14 games.
OJ did it in 14.
And I said, and the thing about it, I said, the next year he came back, he had a holdout.
Right.
And then he came and played. And he rushed for 1,890 something yards. And next year, and he got kicked out of the first game of the season against the New England Patriots after 2 plays. Something happened. I think he had like 2 carries for 7 yards or something in that game. And he got kicked out. He got in a fight with somebody for New England. It's out that game. So actually he only played in 13 games and rushed for 1,800 and something yards.
And one other,
I mean, it's a whole different thing. Jim Brown's thing, it's whole different.
Okay,
it's different.
Now let me add this to your argument when they talk about Jim Brown. Jim Brown, remember when Jim Brown came into the league, they only played 12 games.
Yep, 12.
Jim Brown's second year in the NFL, basically, this is what blows me. Actually, his first year, as he's a 21-year-old rookie, he had 997 yards, rookie year. His second year in the league, 12 games. Jim Brown had 1,665 yards in 12 games.
Mm-hmm.
OJ had 2,003 yards in 14 games.
Yeah.
That's
insane.
That's insane. He had that 14-game season. He had 2,003 yards, surpassing Jim Brown. But the point is, what people don't understand is and OJ did it. We talk about it. He did it again in Shea Stadium on a field of ice, mud, and absolute snow. It was the worst field someone could ever play on. And I believe he had over 200 yards, or right at 200 yards to get to 2003. But you can't compare now with the NFL running backs. With the way that game has evolved, you'll never see a running back come anywhere near that now.
Oh, yes.
Because the game has devalued the running back position by committee, and you'll never have a player get anywhere near any of these records.
Yeah,
and that's why I've always said I thought Jim Brown was the greatest player of all time. OJ's in the discussion as far as one of the greatest. I always put OJ 2 next to Brown. Yeah. I have Brown number 1 and OJ 2. I know Barry Sanders is great though too, and that's hard because you start looking at Barry Sanders' numbers, you make an argument for him as number 2 also. And you can. You can because you can't argue Barry Sanders and Eric Dickerson's numbers are through the roof too.
Yeah,
right.
That's another one.
Right, it's another.
You knew he was getting the ball. They could throw.
Right.
They didn't do nothing.
No,
Eric's getting it.
Right, Eric had it, and that was it, and that was all they could do.
Game.
Right, and that's it. Right, and that's it. Now it's passing. Right. Yeah. We have to get him a mic.
Yeah, we get him.
Yeah, we have to get the Bob Gessler is in. If you people are wondering what the hell is going on, Bob Gessler's in the background. We need to get him a mic.
He's into it today.
He apologizes.
It's hard not to get into it, though.
It's hard not to get involved when we go off a little bit. We like to talk about the old times. We're all old, so we can relate to these players because we saw them play. But, when I say I got to see some of Jim Brown play, I didn't see a lot of it because people don't realize these games were not on TV.
Right.
I got to see OJ a lot because I was older and I got to see OJ play at USC. I remember when he beat UCLA in he was a rookie. They beat Gary Beeman in UCLA. They gave the Heisman to Gary Beeman, even though OJ deserved it. And then they gave it to OJ the next year.
Yeah.
But OJ lost to Ohio State in his final game for a national title. But the whole point of it is I remember watching OJ play in college. And then obviously when he became an NFL, I got to see a lot of OJ. Jim Brown, I caught at the very end of his career. He's still a great player. And I've seen his YouTube. His numbers were just through the roof. He was just still, to my eyes, the greatest football player ever. But do you see Barry Sanders play and Eric Dickerson play? Getting to who could be number 2, I guess, because I watched OJ, and when OJ had about 5 or 6 years, he was unbelievable. Then obviously he fell off, but when he had about 6, 7, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, he was unstoppable. Another guy that you knew he's getting the football.
Yeah.
All the
he was
time.
on those Buffalo team.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing is but all these players had good lines. You got to say Barry Sanders, not so much.
Not so good.
Not
Walter
so much.
Payton, not so
Walter
good early
Payton,
in his
not
years.
when he was early in his career. Walter didn't have the greatest offensive line. See, Payton would just inflict pain when someone hit him. But
that's one guy I always love.
And I don't. And you bring up Payton too. He's another great player.
He played like it's supposed to be.
When you're trying to discuss and rate these guys, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Because I can't. I left Walter Payton out because now I think he could be number 2.
Yeah.
Saturday morning sports page. Everybody stay safe. Do not drink and do not drive. And buckle up.
Yeah.
Western Reserve Radio.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge, a part of the Sports Map Radio Network.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. And they all have one thing in common. Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard, that's optional. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Allison is perfect. I mean, she'd never tell you that. She's humble and perfect. She likes everyone. She even likes her untidy roommate's weird guinea pig. Allison, wait, are you texting and driving? Allison, no. That's the exact opposite of what I was just saying about you. Why, Allison? Why? Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
We are live outside the home of Joe and Rosie Goddard, where a pretty big tickle fight broke out just minutes ago. Sources say their father instigated the laughter. Let's go inside for a comment. Apparently, they have no comment. Dads, let this be a reminder that it only takes a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. And they all have one thing in common. Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard, that's optional. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Okay, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. So mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. Socks going first, then shoes, right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
How's it going? I'm having a stroke. Are you going to shake my hand? I'm having a stroke. Wow, you're not even moving your arm. I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear. Look for FAST. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911 immediately. Know the sudden signs. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The storks are bringing me a baby brother. We can do this together.
All right, let's go.
Storks know how to keep kids safe. Do you?
What?
Oh my gosh, you don't know.
I know.
You don't? Oh man, you laugh when you're uncomfortable.
No. Making sure your child is in the right car seat is one of the steps to safer travel.
I will rock this.
You will rock this. To know for sure that your child is in the right car seat for their age and size, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. Cool. Very cool. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This is Matt Lipsack, the voice of the Youngstown Phantoms, and your home for Phantoms hockey is Western Reserve Radio.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio at westernreserveradio.com on the Live 365 network and the Live 365 app.
General Manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah said, "We think he's the best wide receiver in the league and should be compensated as such. We think he's one of the best non-quarterbacks in the league and should be compensated as such," adding, "We're excited to have him and we'll continue those conversations because he's somebody we want around for a long time." And who could blame them? Because I think that there's been kind of this rumor swirling around that if Kirk Cousins ends up going somewhere else in free agency, maybe we don't bring back Justin Jefferson and we just rebuild from the ground up. But it doesn't sound like that's the plan at all. They think that they could have had a lot more success this year had Kirk Cousins stayed healthy, and that Justin Jefferson similarly stays healthy. He should get paid.
Yeah, I think they're right, too. I think they would have had success last year. And everyone goes back to 2 seasons ago when they had the record in those one-score games, which everyone points at and says, oh, they were a lucky team. Well, they were in all of those games as well, and they were playing good football. And, yeah, they got some good bounces. Last year's team, those first 5 games, when they were 1-4, 4 of those were one-score games. It was a situation, again, where they're in all of these football games. They're a competitive football team right now, and there's no reason to move yourself away from being a competitive football team, especially when you see like teams like the Rams this year, who were very, very close to making the Super Bowl. People don't realize how close they were. That they beaten Detroit, they would have had a real shot at taking down San Francisco. So you can go from being a bad team to a good team in the NFL very quickly, and you've got all the pieces in Minnesota. You need to upgrade the defense a little bit. But other than that, this is a team that can compete right away, and there's absolutely no reason, if you can get Kirk Cousins back, to move on from someone like Justin Jefferson, who I agree is the best wide receiver in football. And look, the nice part about signing someone like Justin Jefferson is that you can sign him, and he will have value throughout that entire contract. People will still trade for him if he's the highest paid receiver in football because he is that good. And when you look at how you acquire a top 10 receiver, you either draft him or you trade for him. You never get those type of guys in free agency. We saw T. Higgins. You're not going to be able to get him in free agency as well. If you want him, you're going to have to trade for him, or Cincinnati's going to figure out how to extend him after putting the salary tag on him. So it is one of those situations where if you want one of these guys, you've got to pay him or you got to trade for him, and you never want to give them up for nothing. I don't see any way they don't work something out with Justin Jefferson long term.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the GM said as much, saying that trading Jefferson never crossed their mind. They want to keep him there. And the comment that you made about teams having the ability to go from really bad to really good quickly, I'm sure sounds extremely appealing to the Washington Commanders, because they have been really bad for a while now. They have the number 2 overall pick in this year's draft. And their general manager, Adam Peters, said, as far as a quarterback decision goes, that it has not been made, quote, by any stretch of the imagination, and added comments that he had good conversations with Sam Howell and is excited about him. Of course, everybody's thinking that they're going to go number 2 at quarterback. They need to. Likely Drake May, but Jaden Daniels has been a little bit of a wild card that's been discussed as maybe leapfrogging May in this draft. What do you think ultimately ends up happening with the Commanders at quarterback?
Well, Sam Howell will not be taking the first snap under center. I can tell you that right now. They may be happy with him, but he is not going to be the starting quarterback in Washington. And this is one of the most interesting parts of the draft to me, is what does Washington do with that number 2 pick? We have seen so much Drake May slander, it feels like, come out over the last couple of weeks leading into this combine. People forget he ran for over 600 yards at North Carolina. It's not like he's just a statue back there. He is a mobile guy. He is an athletic guy as well. But then you look at Jaden Daniels and the possible upside. Throws a beautiful deep ball, has that speed, able to extend the play. And you look at, bringing someone in like Kingsbury, who likes to work with mobile quarterbacks, and like someone like Jaden Daniels. This is the one where I think it's going to be interesting coming up to the draft. I think you're going to be able to see both of these players at plus 200 at one point or another because of the buzz inside the news cycle. So I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on this number 2 pick market and seeing if I can get both of them at plus money, and also keeping a really close eye on specific player to Washington market. I know if you look right now, Jaden Daniels plus 120 to be the number 2 overall pick. But Jaden Daniels to Washington sitting there at plus 180. So you're able to get some extra value by saying, no, it's Washington who's picking him at 2. I don't see a world where Washington trades out of this 2 pick. They want to take their guy there. And so it's going to be one of those two quarterbacks to Washington. The question is which one. So by looking at the different markets available, specifically pairing a player with a team and pairing a player with a